This Coast to Coast Entertainment Network program is brought to you by Beside Me Bracelets. Our bracelets are handmade for any occasion. Use the promo code Coast to Coast for 15% off. Visit their website at besideme.com. Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry. With 24-hour shopping available, use the code 160920 and show her some love, like she showed us. Reaper Apparel Company, a commitment to live your most authentic way every single day. Visit reaperapparelco.com for more information and a look at all of their apparel offerings. And by Good Day Embroidery, your local source for custom embroidery, screen printing, and more. Log on to gooddayembroidery.com for more information.
We made it. It is Super Bowl 58. We're not in Las Vegas, but the Super Bowl will be in Las Vegas. I'm Christy Bacon, here with James Gonzalez. How you doing today?
We're not in Vegas?
Wish we were, but we're not, unfortunately.
Man, why do I feel this way? I feel like I have a hangover. Well, yeah, we're here. I'm wearing red, sadly. I just thought of it before the show. I'm like, you know what? Fine, I'll wear red. It's almost Valentine's Day. Shout out to mine. The unfortunate thing about this game, Chris, is that it's playing in the Raiders stadium. But this is why they made it for this event and other events in the future. As we were talking before the show started, they could host a show here or host the Super Bowl here every 5 years if it all goes well. So I'm looking forward to seeing. I saw how the stadium looks, but with all the fans in it, it's definitely going to be a red takeover no matter what. I'm just hoping for a really great game, just back and forth, really close game at the end. The rumors are out there saying that it could be a double overtime game if it's scripted correctly, so look out for that.
Uh-oh. If it's scripted correctly. Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing, because the logo came out this year and everybody's like, it's going to be the 49ers and the Ravens.
I was wrong about that.
The season. Well, I mean, it was partly right. The 49ers are in it. But then there's a left turn, and now the Chiefs are in it. What do you think of the Chiefs? Because they had a rocky start. We'll start with them. They're kind of the home team. But
I even doubted them. I think only like McAfee and a host of others that weren't Chief fans or Chief supporters. I think they were the only ones that did not doubt their championship pedigree. But man, once they got into, well, let me say this: it was great seeing them lose to the Raiders on Christmas. I mean, it was such a great gift for me. But
right.
you kind of knew after that it was like, hey, it's playoff. It's almost playoff time. They're bound to get their bearings together and make a run. They're not as pure as they look, but I guess you can never doubt them again. They were awesome. They got help with Miami with the weather. Then they had to go on the road the 2 times, and that's when you figured out, well, they haven't really changed. The players have kind of, but that championship pedigree hasn't. And that's why they're here. Patrick Mahomes is just... You can't sack him. You try to. You try to stop him. And then the rookies are doing their thing. Pacheco's doing their thing. Kelsey has, saved his best for the playoffs. He had a mundane kind of regular season. But man, once the playoffs started, he went off. So, and then the defense too. When you think about the defense, a lot of no names other from Chris Jones, but Snead, the linebacking core, they've been awesome this year. So credit to the Kansas City defense coming up when the offense wasn't clicking. The defense was doing so well. So they've been lucky, but they've been really good too.
They have been lucky. We have J Mac here with us. How you doing, J Mac?
All right, how are you doing?
Doing good. What's your thoughts on the Super Bowl? The Chiefs coming back. People doubting them. What are your thoughts?
Swifties by 20.
Swifties by 20. We also got the Prime Moose, Tim.
Oh,
How you doing?
Swifties by 20. That is the worst time to come back in the show is to see somebody say Swifties by 20. Oh, wow. I'm doing good. It's, and then I heard that. That's okay. That's life. I get to watch the Super Bowl at midnight, so that's where I'm at.
No, it'll be tomorrow. You get to see it.
I'm watching the game. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to watch the game. It's just going to be really, 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 really late at night when that game's over.
Yeah, it will be. What's everybody's thoughts on the 49ers, J-Matt?
Say it one more time.
Thoughts on the 49ers coming back, or not coming back, but coming to the Super Bowl.
Well, I mean, the Niners really only had one bad stretch all year. I mean, they had the 3 games that they lost in a row. I think it was, right in the middle of the year? Like week 7, 8, 9 or something. It wasn't. And then really after that, I mean, they probably should have lost twice in the playoffs. I mean, Green Bay and Detroit played them all the way to the end, so they probably should have lost twice in the playoffs. But during the regular season, I mean, I'm quoting Brock Purdy on this. He's, not my favorite guy, but I do think it's pretty funny that Cam Newton said he's like the 10th best player on his team. And Brock Purdy came back and said, yeah, that might be true. However, I know there's like 90 quarterbacks in the NFL and you're not one of them. So,
yeah. Primus?
A lot of us had San Francisco to be where they're at. I think that's not too shocking. They're there. It's like J-Mac brought up. They should have lost twice in the playoffs. This is a team that can't do. This is a team that can't do that against Kansas City because if they do that against Kansas City, they're not coming back.
No, I don't think so either. James?
Yeah, definitely what Primus said, where you just knew that they were going to be here. When they got Javon Hargrove from Philadelphia in free agency, that's when I thought, okay, they have an abundance of talent on both sides of the ball. They have gotten lucky with Brock Purdy being who he is and not just managing the game, but making some damn good throws. I really, really think that he's taking his game to the next level here. They've gotten lucky, the Niners, because of that. Because Trey Lance didn't work out and Jimmy G didn't work out. Now everybody's trying to look for Brock Purdy later on in the draft, so it's pretty good. But their defense has been pretty good for the year going by. Just an abundance of talent. Again, the offense was clicking well. But man, like the guys mentioned with the playoff games, and you could just, I guess they have a switch. Like both teams have a switch, they could turn it on. But I like what Prime Moose mentioned with the Chiefs. It's like, hey, once they get going, it's hard to come back from. And if the Niners, have a mistake early, like I'll mention later about the game, make sure those mistakes are early, because if not, you're going to be playing from behind the whole time, and you probably won't come back if you're allowing the Chiefs so many points. So the defense really has to step up for the 49ers, like they did in the championship game.
Both these defenses seem to be good. Both offensives seem to be good. Interesting on Purdy, though, that in 22 when he was drafted, it was in Las Vegas.
Mhm.
Now he's playing in a Super Bowl in Las Vegas, so maybe his fortunes can turn around and he can win a Super Bowl in the same place he was drafted. Not a lot of people get to do that. Of course, I think
No,
for
I
many
mean
years
that's
that
that's true, Crispy. But I also think that what everyone's touching on as far as that, I think if you're the 49ers, you have you have to control Patrick Mahomes. You can't stop the run game and make Mahomes beat you because he will. He will beat you if you give him the opportunity. So you have to control the game, keep him off the field, and then you have to make sure that he can't make throws because you come down to it. That's probably the Chiefs' one weakness on their team is the run game. Like they are not a team that can grind it out and beat you with the run. So you shut down the pass game and make them run, you'll probably beat them if you're the 49ers. I don't know what you guys think, but that's my take on it. That's like their one weakness is being able to control the game with the run.
Tim, what do you think?
Yeah. From what I saw in the AFC Championship game, it just seems like, the Kansas City's a team that just likes to keep the pressure on. They make mistakes. They made the MVP make a couple mistakes there that was pretty huge. You can't let Kansas City throw the football because they've got way too many weapons on the outside. You've got Kelsey over the middle. You just can't let Mahomes beat you. At this point, if you're the defensive coordinator for San Francisco, you make the run beat you at this point because we've had so many years of Patrick Mahomes beating you. I think the menu has been out on Kansas City for years now, and I think you started to look off menu, and the menu doesn't say run. Not at least not like they did in 2020 when they had Williams. It's a whole different ball game when the Niners played Kansas City in 2020. This is a whole different group. You got a lot of the same pieces from 2020, but this is a whole different San Francisco team. I think you got to key on Mahomes, make Mahomes make the mistakes because the running backs are going to be aren't the teams that they had.
James?
Yeah, I think time of possession will be a big key. We know the Chiefs can really score quick, so I'm thinking with the Niners, you really have to also score quick in a way. But if you're the Chiefs, you try to control that time of possession, and then you make the 49ers try to come back because they don't score as fast as the Chiefs do. They are capable, but that Chiefs defense has been proven to really stop, teams. You saw the Ravens, like Primus mentioned, just not play their game. What got them there? They only ran the ball 8 times a couple of weeks ago. So it'll be interesting to see how and if the Chiefs defense makes the 49ers, bend and break a little bit on offense. I'm really looking forward to see that matchup.
It's going to be a good matchup. I think, since Tyreek Hill is not part of Kansas City now, he's in Miami. I think they did lose a little bit of that speed, like J Mac and everybody was saying, from Kansas City. But even beforehand, they weren't really a run team. I kind of feel like that. And even this year's not really a run team. Yet they're still in the Super Bowl. I feel like Kansas City has the top offense. San Francisco has the top defense. And I'm sure San Francisco is looking at when Kansas City lost against Tampa and then also against Philadelphia. Those 2 losses, I think, hurt Kansas City. And I'm sure San Francisco is looking at both games they lost and see where they can, have an opening for a mistake. But
Just to clarify, I don't really think the Chiefs are going to win by 20. I just want everyone to know that. I don't really think that. I think it's going to be a good game. I think the final score is going to be something like 27-23. Kansas City, something like that. I don't think it's going to be, a huge high scoring game, but probably in the 20s for both teams.
James, what's your score for this game since we're talking about what the score is?
Let me go 31-27 49ers. I feel like they've built their way to be here. Yes, they've gotten lucky, but ever since last year, being a step away but getting hurt like they did in that Eagles championship game, that's been motivation to come back. And I think to prove everybody wrong, to trade all those picks for Christian McCaffrey, to let go of Lance and Jimmy G, I think this is the time. And if they don't do it, you wonder how long their shelf life is, because eventually you have to pay everybody. So I feel like this is the Niners' time. I keep going back and forth, though, because I think about the Kansas City championship pedigree, but I went with the Niners at the beginning of the year facing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, so I have to stay with it.
Tim?
Yeah, this is one of those games. I got a chance to watch a little bit of the NFC Championship game the other day. I watched a little bit of the Super Bowl, the 2020 Super Bowl as well. It was weird seeing DeForest Buckner on the sidelines for San Francisco and thinking that he's now wearing a horseshoe. I'm going to bring up a score. I think it's going to be it's going to sound very, very familiar to 49er fans and Chiefs fans, but I'm going to bring up the score 31-20. That was the score from Super Bowl in 2020, and I think it's going to be San Francisco at 31. I think Kyle Shanahan has this thing about it's going to be a race to 30, and with Kansas City, it's got to be a race to 30. If you get 30, you're going to beat Kansas City. But then again, Andy Reid has that same mentality against San Francisco. So I think I've brought it up a couple times, but if San Francisco doesn't get off to a fast start, this game it's going to end up being 31 Kansas City. But yeah, I got San Francisco. I think it's San Francisco's time. I think their window, they're still a young team, but I think their window is going to start closing here in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think soon that window will close. Although, a lot of people are saying that Kansas City is a dynasty. I don't know about that. There's different definitions of what people call a dynasty or greatest of all time. I think he's probably one of the great quarterbacks right now, but I don't know about all time. Maybe this time he is. I'm going to say we're going to go 33-30 Kansas City. I think it is going to be a close game, maybe by a field goal, but I like the chances for Kansas City. They've had 2 weeks to prepare, so does San Francisco, though. So,
where does Andy Reid rank all time for you guys for coach?
Ooh.
If he wins
That's
today. If he wins today, he's probably God.
top 5.
I hope he doesn't retire either. That would be the thing. I want him to continue this with the group he has. I don't know. I know for sure he's top 10. That's for sure. Yeah. Once you get past 4, because I know he has 2 already. Once you get past 4, you're in that elite level pretty much, where you have Chuck Noll, Bill Walsh. I know he won 3, but no, he won 4.
He won 4 because Seifert won the one in mid-90s.
So it's that 4th threshold where I feel like, where you're in the elite, so I think he's top 10 for sure, Andy Reid.
I would say top 10.
Yeah, definitely top 10. especially going to the Super Bowl with two different teams coming from the pedigree in Green Bay under Holmgren, and then doing what he did, being in that whole era. He's top 10 if he comes back next year and just goes to the Super Bowl. I think that puts him in top 5.
Yeah, top 5, top 10, somewhere in there, depending on how many Super Bowls he gets to, how many he wins. It just depends on, those kind of stats. Big B wants to know, if 49ers win, could this be a step for Brock for the Hall of Fame, being the last pick, and if he has above average career? We'll go with
Well, you think
Seriously,
about it. But here's the thing is, and I know where he's going, and the problem is because I've read the stat somewhere that if Purdy wins, that he's going to be the fourth quarterback to win the Super Bowl that was drafted in the 7th round or later. And you think about the other 3 that are there. You got Staubach, Unitas, and Bart Starr. He's got to go. He's got to go to at least. He's got to go at least to 4 Super Bowls, maybe win 2 to start even making a thought.
that could be J-Matt.
I don't even know what to think about that question. Like I do get what Tim's saying and where Brandon's going with that, but dude, Brad Johnson won a Super Bowl and so did Trent Dilfer. Like they both did it with good defenses, and that's what Brock Purdy is doing. I don't think Brock's horrible, but I
Think about
I
Joe
don't know.
Flacco won a Super Bowl. Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl too.
That true. Oh, so
True.
yeah, you got me on that. So Joe Flacco, Trent Dilfer, and Brad Johnson all won a Super Bowl. So I don't think one. I don't think one matters really.
Jim McMahon won a Super Bowl and with the 85 defense and didn't win another one basically until he was a backup in Green Bay in 95.
Right.
That is crazy. James?
Yeah, I hate questions like these because we don't let players play their career out. So I definitely agree with Primus with what he said, and I don't. I'm not ready to crown anybody yet, or give someone their props yet. For a Hall of Fame career, I'm not ready to do that yet.
Yeah, I think it's just too early to say that, yeah, he could be in the Hall of Fame based on this Super Bowl win or Super Bowl appearance. It's only his first year full-time head person in the NFL, starting quarterback. So I think it's way too early to tell. As far as who's going to be the top head coach for Andy Reid, BB says he's a second coach next to Coach Hoffman.
The look on James's face is like, who's Coach Hoffman?
No, I remember. I know who that is.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, okay.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on, guys. I'm cooking, so I gotta go.
And Barbara saying, I will watch the Super Bowl, but I think I would rather watch paint dry. This Super Bowl sucks. I think the matchup on the field is going to be better. I can see why, though. But
yeah, Chris, I really think this, but I'm just like, I'm a fan of the game, and I'm trying to just think positive and hope just for a great game, even though it's in the Raiders Stadium. I'm just hoping for a great game and a great finish. That's all I want. We all want that. We all want something very entertaining and not a blowout. That's what we're all hoping for, and that's how I'm trying to get through this.
That's true. I can see that. And I wish J-Mac was here to answer this question, but Who made the Hall of Fame first, Brock or J Max Beard?
Yeah, J Max Beard at this point. J Max Beard's done more for football than Brock Purdy has so far. But it's too soon to tell because J Max Beard's got a long and illustrious career ahead of it.
And Brock Purdy does not.
Well, Brock Purdy's only in year 2. He could be done next year, unless J Mac all of a sudden loses a bet to I'm because Green Bay plays Indy next year. I might start making bets now on beard games. So.
Oh, you're doing the beard match game.
Yeah, I may. I lost. I had one a couple years. I had one about 6 years ago where I bet my hair, bet my beard, bet my goatee against Detroit week 1 against Indianapolis, and I looked horrible.
Yeah, I just saw somebody. He was a Patriots fan, and this year the Patriots faced the Cowboys, and he lost a bet, so he has to wear a Cowboy jersey up until after the Super Bowl. So luckily, he has one more day of it.
Yeah, I'm just happy we don't. I've looked at our opponents. I'm just happy we don't play the Raiders again. I've got mess arounds Bears. I've got Big B's Vikings. Hopefully, we can not decide to go up by 33 and decide to lose a game again. And then I think we've got your Cowboys this year too.
I believe so. Yeah, I have to look at that, but yeah, I believe we do. Did anybody watch the NFL honors this week?
No,
I didn't, no? But
I heard about it.
Okay. So a lot of the awards, or pretty much all the awards, were revealed. I'm not going to go over all of them, but just like mainly the top ones. We all knew that Lamar Jackson was going to win MVP. He did that. Rookie of the year was CJ Stroud. I think everybody kind of had that, selection too, right? For CJ Stroud, rookie.
Yeah, I mean, Puka Nacua definitely showed his worth, but the more important position is quarterback, and then to lead the Texans to the playoffs and the division, going worst to first in 1 year, I think you give him the award for sure. I see no problem with it. The only thing with Lamar Jackson was I kind of wish it was not a regular season award. I wish it was done after the Super Bowl, this award show, and when they give out the awards. Because I feel like it's kind of tainted after that one playoff game, just the way that he made mistakes and then they didn't show up well. That's the only thing I wish the NFL would do, but they will never do that.
I don't think so either, unfortunately. Tim?
Yeah, I expected CJ Stroud. I expected Lamar Jackson. That's where you can tell that they voted before the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah, that AFC Championship game, I sat there and watched the implosion of probably one of the greatest teams that they had out there this year, and that whole team just imploded. I tell you the thing that proved the point that this wasn't the Ravens' year was the unsportsmanlike conduct on Zay there, and then turns around and taunts the guy, and the same guy is the guy that knocks out the football at the 1 yard line. That just seemed like it was the epitome of Ravens football for the season. You do this great thing, you talk everything, and then all of a sudden you get punched in the face.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all saw this pick, but I just wish that it was throughout the season. And I mean throughout the season, playoffs included, and in the Super Bowl also. Big B is asking, where can I find a Swift tracking like Santa on Christmas Eve?
I think there's a college guy that's tracking Taylor Swift. That I think it showed up in one of my news articles that I got that where she asked the college kid to stop tracking her airplane. So if Brandon's looking for something, I I think there's a college kid out there that's got a tracking device for Taylor Swift and her airplane. I know she was spotting LAX yesterday.
Yes, I heard that too. And I guess, like NFL Network's been doing that too, kind of tracking her. And apparently she's en route.
Jeez, please, why? Why?
Okay, which is I don't know if annoying would be a word, but I don't know, I'm over dramatic. The Favre watch or Taylor Swift tracking.
Oh, I remember that.
Oh God, I remember the Favre one.
I do too.
The Favre one was like a kick in the face. It was like think about it. It got to that point where it was like Aaron Rodgers this year at the beginning of the season, because it was like, what's Aaron Rodgers going to do? Where's Aaron Rodgers at? Well, he's on a sabbatical. He's doing this. He's doing that. I'm like, for the love of God, Roger Staubach would have made sure somebody would have looked stupid if they had to try to track him in the day. But holy crap.
Back to the awards, we also have CJ Stroud winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. Go ahead.
I thought Puka Nacua should have got this, but maybe the numbers of Stroud just blew that over. But I thought Puka Nacua getting the rookie, receiving yards and touchdowns, I thought that was more of a feat for Offensive Rookie of the Year than Stroud, just because he has more opportunities to get his numbers. I really thought Nacua was going to get that.
Yeah, I think if either one got one of the awards, the other one should have got the other.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they should really change how they vote this stuff. Christian McCaffrey is Offensive Player of the Year. You have Defensive Player of the Year goes to Myles Garrett. Defensive Rookie of the Year is Will Anderson Jr. of Houston. And then your Coach of the Year is Kevin Stefanski.
That one bothered me. That one I had a problem with.
Why is that?
I still, to this day, I still think it should be Dan Campbell. I saw it with Stefanski.
It should have.
Are you kidding me? Stefanski, really? Golly. He did. He coached a coach that. But the funny thing is, Cleveland was expected to be there, and that's the other thing. Dan Campbell took a team that hadn't been there hadn't won a playoff game in 30 years. He hadn't won a division in God knows how long. And next thing you know, it's Kevin Stefanski can't even win the division, has to sneak in on a wild card.
Yeah.
I really thought it was going to be kneecap soup and not Stefanski.
Kneecap soup.
Yeah.
James, what's your thoughts? Right?
Yeah, this is again why I want the awards after the Super Bowl, after the whole season, because you would see the real body of work by whomever. I feel like there probably was or should have been consideration for D'Amico Ryans in Houston. I think the job that he did to get everybody motivated to go worst to first, usually you get those type of deals. Like I know in the NBA, they have a Coach of the Year award where if there's no clear cut, like favorite top of the, conference list, they give it to the best story. And this, I thought, would have been the year to do it. Now, I guess Stefanski got it maybe because of how many quarterbacks it went through, how dominant the defense was, and that goes back to Myles Garrett. Remember, Myles Garrett won the Browns a couple of games. He had that game against the Colts. Sorry to bring that up, but he had every category, I think, in the book. He, blocked a field goal, had a pick or a fumble recovery for a touchdown, something like that. So I think he single-handedly won that award with that. The other awards, you said offense, Stroud, and then defensive Will Anderson Jr. Nobody really stood out. I thought Jalen Carter of Philadelphia would have had more input with that. Maybe he had some votes with that, but I after a while, he was the only one showing up for the Eagles defense. Was there another award you mentioned, Chris?
Coach of the Year,
Oh,
Rookie, Offensive Player of the Year.
The Comeback Player of the Year.
I didn't put that, but that was Joe Flacco.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was kind of I know there's outrage because Hamlin didn't get it, but he didn't make an impact like Flacco did. So I'm kind of happy that award went that way. I know Hamlin like died last year and came back to life on the field, but that doesn't constitute, the season he had this season. And what made it not look well was that fake punt that he took in that divisional game. It could have been anybody else, but it had to be him to make that, misplay right there. But Flacco coming off the couch, 38 years of age, I believe, leading them to a playoff game, having the game he did against Houston in the regular season. I think that was kind of a cool story that I think every dad out there would want to do.
I think so too. Tim, what's your thoughts on?
Yeah, I really thought Flacco should have won. You look at you look at the stats and it's two different things. Where they're like, oh, Hamlin played a full game. Yeah, but he had 2 full seasons. But he had 2 tackles and he basically didn't show up. It's a feel-good story. He got back on the field, and don't get me wrong, it's a feel-good story because he did die and he did come back and he did play, but it's not like he made the impact of the century when he did come back, where Flacco basically gets on a plane and goes in and is starting 2 weeks after he gets on a plane to go back to Cleveland. It's crazy, and what he did, it was almost like he had found a way to be quarterback in the NFL, where when he was in the Super Bowl with Baltimore, he had a defense that helped him win that Super Bowl. Now he looked like that Joe Flacco was 22 again and knew how to read a defense, knew how to throw a football, knew how to do everything that he needed to be. If there's a reason why Stefanski won won the Coach of the Year, just by Flacco doing what he did. Flacco did exactly what none of us expected. We all figured Flacco, being 38, 39 years old, was just going to be a placeholder and fall on his face, and he did exactly the opposite of what we expected. I like Flacco. I think Flacco's a feel-good story. It just proves that age is just at this point a number. The running joke should be what kind of old man serum is he taking? Because I think a lot of people older than him would love to be taking it right now.
Chris, real quick, with Joe winning the award, I really think that the system was good for him. He made Amari Cooper look well in that Texan game, but it also goes to show you how lost the Jets really were this year, because they had a shot at Joe Flacco and they didn't take it. And I know it wasn't. I know it didn't look well the first time he was there, I think a couple of years ago, but man, it just shows like how lost the Jets were.
It did. I was surprised why New York, the Jets, didn't take Flacco. They should have when they had the chance, but as they say, their loss is Baltimore, or their loss is Cleveland's gain. I almost said Baltimore. Yes, he did play with Baltimore, but not this year. And then as far as the other awards go, we're going to go to the Hall of Fame class of 2024. Any of the names stand out to you? I mean, all of the names should probably, but we'll go over the list of who is in the class. We got Dwight Freeney for the Colts. Tim, one of your players is going in.
I'm absolutely overjoyed. Now we can get Robert Morrison to go right alongside of him. I think it's, considering Morris has got more sacks than Freeney did. I think I'm the guy who's still waiting for Reggie Wayne to go in. We get one Colts wide receiver in this year, but he was there a year. And his numbers don't look as good as Reggie's, but I think what hurts Reggie is because he played his entire career basically with Peyton and Matt Marvin and Edrin. So I think that hurts him in the long run. But I like Freeney. Don't get me wrong. I love Freeney. I think Freeney's one of my favorites.
James,
Yeah.
thoughts on Freeney?
I'm happy for him because when you think of those Colts teams, you only think of the offense. But
Poor Peyton
Dwight
Manning.
Dwight Freeney himself was definite beast. He was one of the league leaders. You would see him sacks all the time and disruptions. I'm really happy for him, and it came out of really nowhere too. A lot of them did. A lot of these selections did.
Yeah. Next up, I think it's a long time coming, not just for the NFL, but for Chicago Bears fans around the world. Devin Hester finally got into the Hall of Fame. Any thoughts?
Should have been first ballot without question. I don't know why they drug their feet on this one.
I don't either.
Yeah, it was only because he was a special teams player. But man, when he impacted the game like he did, where you knew if you kicked it to him, you were gonna have a problem. And that 07 year, I still remember it like it was yesterday. The way, or was it 06? I forget, but I think it was 2006. Anyway, those couple of years he had. I mean, you had Michael Lewis and Dante Hall, and Brian Westbrook. But none of them could ever, and Deshaun Jackson too, I guess you throw in there, but none of them were as consistent and made an impact like Devin Hester. He was awesome.
When you look at it, when Devin Hester starts a Super Bowl off with a kick return for a touchdown, you kind of go, this is going to be a long way. And right there they say that's most of the time most people would have said it solidified his Hall of Fame career right at that spot.
But wasn't he also a wide receiver too?
Yeah, that was his position, but it just never clicked for him.
I could have swore he did some stuff as a receiver, but I could be wrong. Next up, we have Randy
Gradishar.
Yeah, from the Broncos, a linebacker. Wasn't really sure who he was, but I'm sure it's a long time coming.
What was that? Was that the Legends? Was that the Legends?
Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, he's part of the Orange Crush, part of that defense. With Tom Jackson,
Mecklenburg, and
yeah, that was his last. I was trying to remember his name. But they had a great defense. When you think about those teams of the Broncos of the 70s and 80s, they got to a Super Bowl against the Cowboys in '77, and you mainly thought about their defense and how that city became in love with NFL football, and he was part of that in Denver.
He was. I'm glad people got to saw him. Unfortunately, a lot of people didn't, but a lot of people did. So it just depends on what generation you're part of. Houston Texans, I believe it's their first member. I could be wrong. First member of the Hall of Fame, Andre Johnson, wide receiver. James, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, this one makes me feel like really old because he was their first superstar, I guess, but he was their first main guy that you knew that was making all the Pro Bowls in a row, that was making great catches. He was really, really good. I wasn't even sure if he was going to be a Hall of Famer, honestly, but the numbers just really brought him up to that level. And he'll be the first, but there will be a second with J.J. Watt eventually in 4 years. J.J. will get there.
Tim?
Yeah, like James said, when again, that's definitely showing our age. When your first star is Andre Johnson, and believe me, we saw him twice a year, and it was always a get sick moment because we always didn't have the greatest cornerbacks, and I know full well that Andre Johnson was going to torch you. Andre Johnson was going to stretch the field on corners that couldn't do anything. He had the perfect length. He had the perfect speed. His hands were like glue. When I heard that we got him in Indy that year, I thought we basically stole one. We stole one from Houston. Um, I think I have my little bias, but that's okay. I think Andre deserved it. His numbers puts him in 11th in receiving receptions and yards, 51st in touchdowns, but that's okay. Um, they always say you got to be somebody's first. Like Tony Baselli's, Jacksonville's, Houston's, Andre Johnson at this point, and I have no qualms about it. I wish he would have waited seems like whatever for wide receivers seems like a typical year, 1 year for wide receivers. I never quite understand that, but yeah, my hat's off to him. I think it's well deserved.
I think so too. It's going to be a good Hall of Fame so far. We got a few more names, excuse me, to get to. Also, a name we probably think that we feel old about: Julius Peppers from the
Yeah.
Carolina Panthers. James.
Yeah, Julius, man. Didn't really know him at first, and then he started to get really good for those Panther teams. They made, of course, Super Bowl run. He went on to play with the Packers and the Bears as well. He was their main star on defense for a while until Kuechly got there, and then Thomas Davis, Beeson. But Peppers was that first main defensive star for the Panthers, and he definitely put up the sack numbers every year. It was almost like another 90, him or Javon Curse at the time. It was always like who was better other from Strahan and whoever else was retiring. It was always those two going at it for the best defensive end of those years. So for me, since Peppers is in, I would like to see one day Javon Curse gets in.
That would be good. Anyway, I could be wrong. Never mind. What do you think, Tim?
I like Julius. Julius reminds me a lot of Dwight Freeney. Both of them had this amazing rip move when it's their knuckles dragged on the ground. I sat and watched my brother try to be Julius Peppers doing it, and it's such a difficult move, and to see both of those guys who have amazing rip moves like they do to go past the tackles was absolutely scary. These two were the two guys that made it fashionable to be a thinner, smaller defensive end because they had quickness coming off the edge. It was scary. That's how all of a sudden your offensive tackles got to be a little bit smaller because they weren't as wide because they had to make that first step move against defensive ends like these guys. Peppers winning that Super Bowl with Green Bay, then going to Chicago, giving that name to Chicago's defense, and then going back to Carolina. Again, another guy whose name was huge in the Panthers organization. He learned a lot from Reggie when Reggie was there at the end of Reggie's career. I think Julius was a great student, great pupil of the game, great just a guy who's able to get after the quarterback. Not surprised at all.
Yeah, it's definitely not a surprise. I remember watching him a couple times when he was with Carolina and in Dallas, faced the Panthers a few times. He was a tough player to face, and very deserving of the Hall of Fame. I'm not sure if it's his first ballot or if he had to wait a little bit, but uh, he deserves to get in, and I'm glad he's in. Um, let's see who we also have. One more player going in, Patrick Willis of the San Francisco 49ers. Tim?
That one. See, when he got drafted out of Ole Miss, me being an SEC guy, because me being a Gator fan, I feared Ole Miss because I already knew what Patrick Willis was. And you lined him, and you go to San Francisco and you line him up against Navarro, right alongside Navarro Bowman, and that I thought it's. I'll be honest. I think that's what Fred Warner wants to be is Patrick Willis, because Patrick was such that he's a field general. He did everything that you could do. It sucked that his career was short as it was, but it's for especially with all the great defensive players that San Francisco has always had. He always sticks out to me. He always sticks up out there to me like Ronnie Lott, Dana Stubblefield, and Charles Haley, and all those other guys because I thought Patrick Willis had it, and to see him leave early, it kind of broke my heart, but I understood it. He's definitely one that deserves it, especially even with as short as career as he did have.
James?
Yeah, he was the first kind of pillar of these 49ers when I think about it. Before they had Kaepernick, before they had, any of their good players now, he was their main good guy on defense when you think about it. He was there during the bad times, and then when the time started to get good for the 49ers, he abruptly retired. Kind of understood why, I guess, but he was a definite beast. You knew he was a problem in the middle, being the linebacker, calling the shots. You just knew he was a force, and whenever you played the Niners, you had to worry about him.
Wasn't that the post-game interview or press conference where Singletary's like, I want winners?
Yeah.
I think it was that one. He was talking about how he benched Willis on the sideline.
Vernon Davis.
That was Vernon Davis.
That's right. Okay. It was a long time. I just knew something about that. But yeah, that is your class of. All
right. I've got a question for you since you're the wrestling guy, and we nicely missed one. We missed one Hall of Famer on that list.
Which one?
Steve McMichael.
Okay.
What are your guys' thoughts on Steve McMichael going into the Hall of Fame at this stage?
Ooh, that's a good question.
For me, it's good he got in. I know he doesn't make public appearances anymore. He has ALS. He had that, I think, starting in 21. And, I don't know if he'll show up to the Hall of Fame, but I think eventually, with great teams, eventually the other players will get in. Other from the big names, it feels like, just like Randy Gradishaw did, those Orange Crush players of Denver back then. Eventually, Steve McMichael would have got in. He was part of that big and bold defense, the historic defense of '85 with the Bears, and it seems like everybody else who was, really good has got in or has considered to get in. Richard Dent. I don't know if William Perry ever will, but you figure the other guys are really good with that, and Singletary. So it was just his time, I guess. That's all I could think of.
I agree with that. I think it was his time, and hopefully he is there for the Hall of Fame. Inductions and all of that, and I'm sure he will. Depends on how healthy he is and all that. But I'm happy for him that he got in. Any snubs? that you think should have got in?
I already voiced my opinion on my snub, so
Okay.
my numbers look like Reggie Wayne should have been in, but it's been five ballots now, and he's got numbers better than Andre Johnson. But like I said, I'm not taking anything from Andre.
Antonio Gates. I got to watch him pretty much his whole career destroy the Raiders. He's probably the best tight end, definitely in Charger history. You go past Kellen Winslow and Ron Bernstein and whoever you want to throw out there for the Chargers, but I think he was the best. He's one of the best tight ends ever. He's definitely top 5, so I thought he would have got in right away. Jared Allen, I think eventually will get in next year. I think they had to put the better defensive ends in before they put in Jared Allen, I guess. But Fred Taylor keeps getting overlooked, and Torrey Holt as well. Fred Taylor, remember him being one of those first Jaguars to really show up for them and to be one of their main stars. And I don't think Brunell would ever get in, or Jimmy Smith, I don't think will ever get in. But I think Fred Taylor eventually should get in. He keeps being a snub.
I completely agree. I don't understand why he's not in either.
And then Torrey Holt being a part of that greatest show on turf. I don't know how many years. I mean, he was elite, for those 2 or 3 years. I think that's what hurts him. He was never impactful long enough. Maybe that's why Torrey Holt does not get in.
Is Torrey Holt having the same problem that Reggie Wayne is? Because you got Isaac Bruce, Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk. You're looking at Hall of Famer, and same way with Reggie Wayne, because you got Manning, James, and Harrison, Hall of Famer. Is that the Torrey Holt thing? Is that going to hurt for both of them?
Yeah, that seems like it to be. Rodney Harrison, I'm kind of shocked as well, because he was a great safety for those Charger and Patriot teams later on that won Super Bowls, or won one at least he did. I think eventually these guys will get in. It'll just take next year or a few years down the road.
Yeah, it's going to take time. I have the 2025 eligible players, and there's a lot of them. I'll go to them. Well, I don't know if they're probably the most notable, but we'll see. Marshall Yanda of the Ravens.
He should.
Luke
Kuechly. He
should.
Yeah. Eventually. I don't think he's a first mover. I think he gets in eventually.
Earl Thomas.
Oh my golly.
Play for Baltimore and Seattle.
Maybe in 3 to 5 years.
Sounds like he's doing a prison sentence. 3 to 5 years.
Because when you think about all those Seahawk defensive players, I think everybody thinks right away of Richard Sherman. So that downgrades Earl Thomas from getting in before Sherman. So I think that's the only thing. Everybody's going to think of Marshawn Lynch before they think of Earl Thomas or Richard Sherman.
Right.
So I think that's how the voters look at it. That's what hurts Earl Thomas.
Joe Staley of the.
I feel like, he should get in next year.
I think he should be. I think he's a first ballot.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here's a player for you, Tim. Adam Vinatieri.
Without a question. First ballot, without question. But then
the question goes.
He had a bad one. His last season was terrible. Everybody has a terrible season. Because his numbers are just are too much to keep him out.
James?
Yeah, no, I think he should be first ballot. I mean, he had the most important kick in Patriots history and so many Super Bowls. He had game-winning kicks. He's definitely first ballot to me.
I think so. Eli Manning.
Oh, if he's not first ballot, we don't know what first ballot is at this point.
Had many debates about that. James?
I'm torn here because I love what he did, beating the Patriots twice. He was never a consistent great regular season quarterback. That's what kind of hurts him. I've always gone back and forth with somebody I used to know about him, and he was a Giants fan, about Eli Manning. I just felt like, man, I love what he did, but I don't think he's the first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't think the numbers, constitute that for me.
I think he goes in first ballot just on his name.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I know Marshawn Lynch is on there.
Yeah. And Marshawn, I don't.
Yeah, Marshawn Lynch is on there.
I don't think he's first ballot either.
I don't think he is either. And the thing is, I think they would put him on first ballot just to see what his speech would sound like. I think just because we all know
I'm here so I don't get fined.
Exactly. At this point, if he doesn't start his Hall of Fame speeches because I'm here just so I don't get fined, it's not worth the speech.
Mm-hmm.
No. I could hear him go, man, I accept this, this Hall of Fame induction. Unfortunately, I didn't want to show up, but if I didn't, I would get fined. Something like that.
I'm just here.
I could see him doing what T.O. did and have his own.
Yeah. I could see Marshawn going, yeah, I'm only here because I want the yellow jacket.
Yeah.
The gold jacket. Yeah.
I could see him do 2 Hall of Fames.
Yeah.
Like show up at the Hall of Fame, but then have his own.
Right.
I don't know. Dave has, says that my man David Hester should have been first ballot. Agreed.
Yep.
How dare you forget about Mango?
Mongo.
I think the Hall of Famer. Mongo.
The 4 Horsemen, dude.
My bad. Let's see. Another member of one of the greatest defenses, the 85 Bears. So, yeah.
What does everybody here think about Terrell Suggs? I've been going back and forth on him since yesterday. I'm not sure if he's first ballot or not.
I don't think he's first. Is he on next year's list already?
Yeah, I have a list here, and Suggs, he had a Defensive Player of the Year award, 7 Pro Bowls, and a Super Bowl win back in 2013 with Baltimore.
Right. I think he should be in him. I think he made the perfect combo there with Ray Lewis. What else was there? Olodinata was there too, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Ed Reed before and after.
Yeah, that's the one that's the one that's gonna hurt. I don't know if he's first ballot because I think it's gonna turn into stuff like the Pittsburgh, the Steel Curtain days where you got. I hope he doesn't go with Gardenshire where he waits, but I think he's going to be. I think if he's not 1, he's definitely 2.
Yeah. I think he'll get in. It's just, if it's going to be first ballot or not.
There's so many other names, but since it's the Super Bowl today, we remember maybe the greatest play of all time by a defensive player. I think you know where I'm going with this. James Harrison. He didn't become a starter until the age of 29, but he definitely became a pillar of that defense with the Steelers all those years. You think maybe he'll get in next year?
I think so.
Yeah. Next year, if not next year, the year after.
Yeah.
I think he's going to go in. God, I hated facing Pittsburgh, and he was one of the reasons.
Yeah.
And to think if Bill Belichick was smart enough, he'd have kept him on the damn team.
Yeah. And then Steve Smith, the receiver, I loved watching him play, and I love what he does with the commentary now. Maybe it'd be a couple of years, but eventually he'll get in. And then my last one is Clay Matthews. I don't know if he played enough to get in right away.
I think I'm with you, James, on that. I don't think he gets in right away. I keep looking at that going, again, it almost feels like that's a name recognition thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think because his dad would be in. Would he be that would be the first time Clay Matthews got in. I think his dad said too. And his uncle Bruce.
Yep.
I don't know. I think it's gonna be a little bit for Clay Matthews. And I've got Packer family members, and they're gonna hate me saying that. And my brother's probably one of the biggest Clay Matthews fans, and BJ Raji fans. But I can't. I honestly can't stand Clay Matthews. And the funny thing is, there's two people. It was the NFC Championship game between San Francisco and Green Bay, where Clay Matthews took a shot at Kaepernick out of bounds, and it was Joe Staley that basically almost threw Clay Matthews into the dirt after that, and they're both up for the Hall of Fame next year. That would be interesting.
Was that the championship game?
Wow. It was the championship game. It was the NFC championship game the year that San Francisco lost to Baltimore.
I do remember that play for sure.
So and to see those guys on the stage, if they both get inducted at one point, it would be almost apropos that those two get voted at the same time.
It would. As we get ready for Super Bowl 58, any final thoughts before we sign off? And as we prepare for the big game, James?
Again, I'm just hoping for a really great game. Seeing that it's in the Raiders Stadium, I hate both teams, but I really want this to be a memorable game because you have, the quarterback is always the biggest position, right, in the game and in the world of sports. I think it's dramatized so much in movies and on television, quarterback position. And today you're seeing, the greatness of Mahomes against somebody that's unsung like like Brock Purdy. So I don't know. I'm not even rooting for anyone, but I'm just hoping Purdy kind of balls out in a way where he really gets recognized. So I'm looking out for that. And again, I did pick the 49ers all year long, and I have to stick with that.
Tim, what's your final thoughts? And Big B, I guess, has a show idea, maybe?
Sounds like a good show. That means we got homework to do. I'm not a fan of either one of these teams. But here's the kicker. In the United States, I have, and this is going to be hilarious because we brought them up. I do have a San Francisco 49ers jersey. And it happens to be Patrick Willis. The only guy I would figure in my life that I would ever buy a San Francisco 49ers jersey for is Patrick Willis. And Brandon's going to say, but no, Deion Sanders? No. Patrick to me was a lot better player, a lot better football mind to me. I just can't stand Kansas City. They're they're just so smug. They're getting to the point and the level of the New England Patriots where everybody's going to want to smash the mouth of everybody but we add Taylor Swift to the mix. This is the point where you kind of hope that San Francisco comes out, plays 4 quarters of football, plays 15 minutes, and forgets to take their foot off the throttle, just to shut them up. I've got San Francisco. I'm the guy who said Brock Purdy was going to start in his rookie year by week 8. He started week 7. I've been on the Brock Purdy bandwagon since day one. The funny thing is, like J-Mac said, when Cam Newton said that he's the 10th best player on the list, everybody forgets to tell Cam Newton that those 9 players in front of Brock Purdy are all Pro Bowlers or all pros. So I would have no problems being the 10th player on the San Francisco 49ers. I want this. It's going to be a close game, but I want to see somebody get punched in the mouth a lot, and that person is Patrick Mahomes. I want to see it badly, but it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a good game. I said 31-20. I've been riding on this 49ers bandwagon since day one of the season, like James has been. 31-20 is just is the slap in the face to the Kansas City Chiefs because the last time they played in the Super Bowl. But I hope it's going to be a great game. And if all else fails, I'm there for the commercials.
Me too. Any of them excite you about the commercials this year? I know
the Deadpool 3 trailer.
Oh, that's coming out?
Supposedly it's coming out today.
Huh. I have to keep a watch out for that. Thank you, everyone, for watching and tuning in. Super Bowl 58 should be a fun one. Thanks, everyone, for watching the entire season. We should be back to wrap things up next week or shortly after the season is over. But until then, enjoy the Super Bowl. Enjoy the rest of your week. And we'll see you guys next time. Have a great week.